Hello, everybody, and welcome to my first review of 2021. Oh, this hoodie? Nah, it's for nothing special happening in the next 2 or so months. It's not like there's some big project that's going to be coming out on HBO Max that I may or may not end up reviewing for the channel. But anyways, yeah. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering to yourself, hey Owen, how come you're reviewing Wonder Woman 1984 instead of reviewing the first two episodes of WandaVision? Well, two reasons. One, I promised you guys reviews of Wonder Woman 1984 and Soul back during my Spider-Man Miles Morales review. And two, I'm not planning on reviewing the first two episodes of WandaVision as I'm waiting for the series to wrap up in March, so that way I could be able to give you my thoughts on the show as a whole, rather than just give you my initial thoughts on the first two episodes and then just immediately move on to the end. I think it'd be better to savor the joy and surprise with the end. But yeah, and as for my review of Soul, due to having to reschedule a couple things and other things like that, I'm probably not going to be able to do a review of Soul, but here's my 3-word review. Go watch it. It's really good. Just go watch Soul. It's awesome. It's one of Pixar's best. Moving onward, we have Wonder Woman 1984. Now, Wonder Woman 1984 is, of course, a continuation of the first Wonder Woman. The first Wonder Woman, of course, was directed by Patty Jenkins, and she, of course, is returning for the second film, and she's also producing and co-writing a screenplay alongside Geoff Johns and David Callaham. Now, Geoff Johns is also a big name in the DC community, as he's done runs on Green Lantern, Flash. He's also currently working on several DC TV shows, including Stargirl. There was also about how he was actually supposedly one of the enablers of Joss Whedon during the Justice League reshoots, but that's neither here nor there, so we're just going to move on. But yeah, and of course, Wonder Woman 1984, of course, for the stars, we have, of course, returning our Gadot as Wonder Woman, of course, and we also have Chris Pine coming back as Steve Trevor. And of course, you have Connie Nelson and Diane Lane coming back as Anthropy and Hippolyta, respectively. And for the new cast, we actually have our main two antagonists being the Cheetah, who's played by Kristen Wiig, and Maxwell Lord, played by the Mandalorian's very own Pedro Pascal. Now, what is the plot of Wonder Woman 1984? Well, the plot is that it is set 70 years following the events of the first Wonder Woman. Diana has, of course, lived in secret pretty much for most of her life, only coming out every now and again to help others. But then she ends up being teamed up with this young woman named Barbara Ann Minerva to work on these ancient artifacts, because she, as they established in early films like BVS, for example, she has taken up a job looking at antiquities and historical artifacts. But it is here that they end up finding a mysterious artifact known as the Dreamstone. And the Dreamstone is that, the whole deal behind it is that anybody who wields it can make one wish, but in doing so, it takes something in return. And Maxwell Lord has heard about this stone, and he plans to use it to help boost his company and boost his public image and ego. And it's up to Wonder Woman to not only stop him, but to also stop Minerva, because she used the stone herself to essentially become like Diana, becoming beautiful and also becoming really strong and gaining superpowers of her own at the expense of her humanity and humility, which, yeah, it's not good. Not only that, but Diana herself actually used the Dreamstone to bring back her long-dead lover, Steve Trevor. Which, don't worry, we're going to address that elephant in the room when we get to it, but I just need to provide some background first. Now, the first Wonder Woman, when it came out back in 2017, and I did watch it when it came out in the theater, it was really great. It was like the first major DC movie in a long time that a lot of people could say, this was actually really, really good. Like, this was really awesome. Then overall it was great, but the third act definitely is where it takes a little bit of a nosedive in quality. And apparently the reason being was because Patty Jenkins recently revealed this during the circuit of the news circuit, about how, yeah, Warner Brothers and the higher ups pretty much said the fact that I had to reshoot the entire third act because What she had initially in mind, it was more smaller scale, but then probably the executives were like, where's the big explosions? Where's the big punch 'em up at the end? Every big superhero movie's gotta have a big punch 'em up at the end. And then, of course, we got that third act fight sequence with Ares, and as most people know, it wasn't very good. But overall, Wonder Woman was really, really good. So to hear that pretty much most of the same people who came from the first one were coming back to do this was really cool. And this was also one of those many films in which, they initially announced it to come out back in June of 2020, but due to the events of the ongoing world, it kept getting pushed back and back and back, until eventually it came out on Christmas Day in a hybrid release of being released in the remaining theaters that were open, and also on HBO Max for those who either A, don't have any theaters open to them, or B, don't want to risk getting sick, so they ended up, having to stay home regardless. So, overall, what did I think of Wonder Woman 1984? I actually thought it was pretty good. Now, I will admit, it's not one of the stronger DCEU films, yes. But, I still think the fact that it's a lot better than what everybody else is saying, at least in my honest opinion. Whereas, for one thing, I really love how, for her movies, Patty Jenkins is really taking a lot of inspiration from the Christopher Reeve era of Superman movies. That's something that I find really, really cool, because I very much enjoy those Christopher Reeve Superman movies myself, with the exceptions, of course, being 3 and 4, because they're 3 and 4. It's really only the first two Christopher Reeve Superman movies that, that are, really high up. But even for 3 and 4, Christopher Reeve still was, of course, the highlight out of all of those movies, because I still think to this day that he is the definitive portrayal of the Man of Steel. Henry Cavill is still really good. I think he is a close second. I think he's the best modern era Superman. But in terms of overall, nothing could beat Christopher Reeve for me. But I really love Wonder Woman 1984, how it took inspiration from stuff like that and incorporated it into this. And I really did enjoy it. Now, there are definitely some issues with it. Obviously, the big issue that a lot of people had with it was, of course, the fact of how Steve Trevor did come back. And for the record, I am going into spoilers with this review because it's been out for nearly a month now. So, if you haven't seen it yet, spoilers, in case you want the quick notes version. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Not as bad as everybody else was saying. Definitely had definitely had a lot of major flaws, but not enough to hinder my experience of it. So I really did enjoy it. That out of the way. Good. Now, here's how Steve essentially came back. You see, when Diana used the Dreamstone to wish for Steve back, he did come back, but he came back in the body of another man. A man that had a life and, probably had a girlfriend or other things like that. And the thing is, Diana was the only person that could see that Steve was Steve, but everybody else just saw the other guy. And it was really uncomfortable when it's implied that they, that Diana and Steve essentially had, intercourse with the body of this stranger. Yeah, not gonna lie, that definitely did raise a couple problems. Not only this, but I also Pitch Meetings brilliantly pointed that out, in which it's like, Maxwell Lord, he ended up using the power of the stone to also obtain the powers of the stone, in which he grants people's wishes, but in turn he takes something from them because he's now the physical embodiment of the stone. When he said, "I wish to become the stone," wouldn't by that wording, that would immediately have him turn into the literal stone? Why didn't that, or, for example, when Diana and Steve are at the White House trying to stop Maxwell Lord, when Steve has, Maxwell Lord pinned up, if he can simply just use Max's wish powers if he has Max pinned up, then why doesn't he just simply use his wish-granting powers to wish for all of this to stop? Seriously. And there are definitely a lot of major things like that can get a little bit off. And not only that, but the film is also really long. It's around 2.5 hours with credits. But did that hinder? But with all those flaws in mind, and of course a couple of other things here and there, Did I hate this movie? No, I did not. There was a lot of really great stuff that I did enjoy about it. Gal Gadot, of course, is great as Wonder Woman. She's fantastic. She is probably the ideal Wonder Woman. Absolutely loved her. Still really great to see Chris Pine because, he's still, as charismatic and charming as, he usually is. And I really love the little back and forth, banter between Diana and Steve as, how Steve's now the fish out of water and Diana is essentially, teaching him through all, these unique different things and other things like that. Still really cool the fact that they actually included the invisible jet, although, 1, what happened to that invisible jet? 2, is the invisibility still permanent? 3, can Wonder Woman fly now, or could she just always fly and she just didn't know? It's and also, apparently just making things invisible is apparently one of Wonder Woman's superpowers now. It's really weird. But yeah. But anyways, moving on back to positive, I still really did enjoy also the villains as well. I thought Kristen Wiig, definitely a surprise choice for Cheetah, but she definitely very much nailed a really great job. In fact, it very much reminds me sort of Michelle Pfeiffer from Batman Returns, in which she starts out as sort of really nerdy and shut in and other things like that, but then eventually, over the course of the movie, she sort of becomes this really sexy, this really interesting and dangerous woman, and you could very much get that feeling from Kristen Wiig's performance as Cheetah. And eventually, of course, there was the ending battle between Diana and Cheetah. Of course, you see Diana wearing the Golden Kingdom Come armor, and you also have Cheetah now in her full-out Cheetah form, which the reason why that battle probably took place at night was so they could hide the CGI, because it really wasn't all that great. But I did not hate it, and at least it was a lot better than the third act of the previous Wonder Woman. Anyways. And of course, back on the subject of the villains, I also think the fact that Pedro Pascal did a fantastic job as Maxwell Lord. It's a very different version of Maxwell Lord than what we're used to in the comics and other mediums, but I still think the fact that he put in a very interesting performance that very much seemed reminiscent of Gene Hackman's performance as Lex Luthor in the Superman movies with Christopher Reeve. Once again, showing the greater parallels between the Christopher Reeve Superman movies and Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman movies. So that's really cool too. Not only that, but the action sequences were also great. I really liked the flashback opening of Diana being on Themyscira, and I also really liked the moral lesson throughout the movie about how nothing good is born from lies, and how the truth will eventually always win out, and something that you've built on lies will eventually crumble down. And I really liked that message. I thought that was really cool. And then of course there's the fact that the action sequences were great. The opening of Themyscira was awesome. The mall sequence was definitely really cool. Definitely had very much a Spider-Man-y vibe to it. I really like that action sequence towards the middle of the movie in which Diana's fighting off against all those different trucks and tanks or whatever. That one, and I really particularly like that moment in which you see the truck flip over and then you see her gracefully just sort of begin to descend. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, and I also really like the explanation as to where exactly the golden armor came from, and I really did like the little bit credit scene cameo, which that I will not spoil for you, but needless to say, that was actually a pretty nice cameo, and I really did like the fact that they did include that particular actress in that role, as it definitely pays homage to that particular portion of Wonder Woman history. I think that with that tidbit, I think it just kind of gave it away, but I'm not going to say what it is anyways for those who still haven't figured out, because I think it was definitely really cool. But yeah, and, overall, I definitely really did enjoy Wonder Woman 1984. Did I like it as much as I did the first Wonder Woman? No, but does that mean I didn't enjoy it at all? No, I definitely really did enjoy it. Still think the fact that it's a lot better than a lot of other DCEU movies. I still think it's better than the theatrical cut of Suicide Squad, the theatrical cut of Justice League. I still think it's a lot better than a couple of other DCEU films, but I still think the fact that it doesn't reach those that original Wonder Woman level of quality or the Shazam level of quality. I just think the fact that it's just overall really good. I just think the fact that it's pretty decent. So overall, I'm going to give Wonder Woman 1984 a 7 out of 10. It is definitely worth watching, at least once, or maybe twice, but I still think the fact that it is worth watching. So yeah, where will this now go? Well, we're definitely going to be seeing a lot more Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman soon, because she's appearing in a certain something, if you catch my drift. But not only that, but like 2 days after Wonder Woman 1984 came out, Warner Brothers actually greenlit a third Wonder Woman movie that's in the works. Thankfully, Patty Jenkins will be returning to write and direct, and Gal Gadot, of course, will be coming back as Wonder Woman. And they are planning it to have it be an exclusive theatrical movie. They're not going to have it fall under like the HBO Max theaters thing that they did with this movie and a lot of their other movies for 2021. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what the future of Gal Gadot I'm really intrigued to see what the future of Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is going to bring us. So yeah, I guess that's the end of that. Tune in next time, where I have no idea what the heck I'm going to review next, but when I do, I hope you guys will enjoy it and stick around for that. So as always, make sure you give the video a like, you subscribe, you ring that little bell so that way you get all the notifications and you don't miss out on a single video. And of course, as always, stay gold.